And I realized you could get, 100, 200, really limitless $300,000 of 0% interest capital. So if I'm paying 12% to borrow 100,000, or I pay 0% to borrow 100,000, I just saved $12,000. So I'm like, okay, I think there's a product here. And I started luxury personal finance about 6 months ago with my partner, Brandon Hampton, or just @money on Instagram. For example, there's a bank account that I put about $5,000 into. With that, I was able to get $25,000 business credit card and a $50,000 business line of credit. So I put in 5,000, I'm able to get access to $75,000. Now, the credit card is 0% interest. The business line, I think it's like a 9% interest rate.
Hey everybody, Jose Luis Morales. Welcome back to another episode of the Morales Group Show. Today we have Evan Rogan with Luxury Personal Finance and LVAD Group New York syndications. Today our topic is how to get money to buy rental property, how to use business credit cards to buy real estate. So we're going to talk about a strategy that they have where they can help you get access to up to $100,000 in 30 days, which you can use for different reasons. Welcome to the show, Evan. How are you?
I'm great, man. Happy to be here. Thanks for doing this.
I love it. Yeah, I think it's really important because a lot of times people want to get into real estate or want to open up their own business or do different things. And they have this limiting belief that they need access to all this capital. But the reality is that if you have good credit, you can actually get access to the capital. So I'm excited to have you on the show. So for our viewers that don't know who you are, who is Evan Rogan? And then how did you get involved in helping people unlock or get access to capital?
Yeah. My name is Evan Rogan. I'm a 28-year-old college dropout. I moved to New York City when I was 19 to walk dogs. That was the only thing I qualified for. I didn't have a fake ID. I look young for my age, so I couldn't really talk to girls. I couldn't really work at a bar. So I was walking dogs, and I lived with an elderly family, and I got my real estate license. I did that for 5 years, a long 5 years. Started out with one transaction, moved to New York with $500. By the end of my reign renting apartments, we were up to about $2 million in revenue via renting apartments. It's over 500 apartments, and the New York Times called me the frat whisperer. And then this thing happened in March of 2020 called COVID, and I was 25 at the time, and it forced me to reevaluate my life. So went to Florida with a few buddies on a $8 flight and stayed on my friend's couch and thought, okay, like what do I want next? What's next? So I wanted to get to the other side of the table. I wanted to be a developer. So I created a platform that sources off-market real estate deals and started buying, deals. First deal we bought it for 50, put in 150, and it refinanced for 400. We've since sold it for 465,000. So, okay, put in 200, sell for 465, have an Airbnb tenant float the mortgage for 3 years. Sounds pretty good to me. So we scaled that to currently about a $13 million real estate portfolio. And then something happened actually pretty recently. It was April of 2022. I was in Minnesota with my girlfriend at the time. I looked at my credit report, as I always do, and my credit score was down 70 points. And I have a bunch of properties to refinance, and I'm like, what is this? I got a collection on my car report. So essentially, I had paid this car 3 years in advance. And as I live in New York City, so I don't have a car. It's the first car I had in probably 8-9 years, and I had insurance. I went to collections for $250 and tanked my credit report. So I'm freaking out. Some time goes by, and I'm like, I got to refinance these properties. I got to figure this out. So I think I DM'd like probably 15 people on Instagram. The first person who responded to me. It was the first course I ever bought a $2,000 course, how to fix your credit. Did that, got the collection off, got all my inquiries off. I think I had a few late payments I got off. And I realized my credit was terrible beforehand because if you're a real estate developer, you get all these credit inquiries. So, I cleaned my credit and I'm like, all right, what else can I do with this credit thing? And then I realized I was paying like 12, 13% on bridge loans. Keep in mind, there's interest on that. It's accruing immediately. There's points you have to pay, and there's inspection fees. And I realized you could get, 100, 200, really limitless $300,000 of 0% interest capital. So if I'm paying 12% to borrow 100,000, or I pay 0% to borrow 100,000, I just save $12,000. So I'm like, okay, I think there's a product here. And I started luxury personal finance about 6 months ago with my partner Brendan Hampton, or just at Money on Instagram.
Mhm.
And now we, just sort of the three steps are we fix your personal credit. Any late payments, collections, derogatories can be removed. We strengthen your profile, and then we help you get access to money at the cheapest available rates.
I love it. I love
I
it.
know that was a
And,
mouthful. So,
no, I think it's good because it's funny because this is making a lot of sense. One of the things my dad always told me growing up, he's like, look, you got to take care of your credit
yeah,
because without credit, like nobody will lend you money and you can actually make money with other people's money. And a lot of people don't know how to use that. So we're going to go back and circle back to how to fix the credit, how to strengthen the profile. First, I wanted to talk about the juicy part, the access to the money part, which I think
yeah,
that's the part that
yeah.
a lot of people want to hear. So, like,
Mhm.
let's say I want to get access to $100,000 in 30 days. What does that
Yeah.
look like if we work it backwards?
If you work it backwards, reverse engineer, I love that. So, what does that look like? One, you need, sort of a relationship manager at that bank. I'm trying to go back all the way back from signing the loan docs. So backwards, you usually find a relationship manager at the bank. It's hopefully a bank that you've had for a little bit, but it can be you can just start a new bank account. For example, there's a bank account that I put about $5,000 into. With that, I was able to get $25,000 business credit card and a $50,000 business line of credit. So I put in 5,000. I'm able to get access to $75,000. Now, the credit card is 0% interest. The business line, I think it's like a 9% interest rate. Again, if you let's say you max out the business card, it doesn't report to the personal card. So if you max out a personal card, for example, your credit report is 35, 30, 15, 10, 10. 30% of it is utilization. That aspect doesn't exist with business credit, or very frequently reports. It does not report. So if you need access to the money, you can actually use it. You don't have to worry about like using your credit card.
Who are the banks that are typically doing this? Like, is this like a big bank like a Wells Fargo? Is this like a Bank of America? Is this more of like
It's
a
case like,
like a community bank?
yeah, every bank sort of has a little sauce. Like, for example, Bank of America, they're great for getting business loans for cars. For some reason, they're really good with that. Wells Fargo, they have some programs, nothing that I've loved. Chase Bank is great. TD Bank, regional banks are awesome. Community banks are great. You really, pretty much what we've done, and it's, the same thing that Mark Cuban advised. Is like, oh, how did you get so rich? He's like, I read the manual. No one wants to read that thick booklet of how to fix credit, what laws to cite, or how to get access to money. Like, for example, there's just two cards on my desk. Let me just make sure I'm not showing the okay, cool. These are two cards right here, NBKU and Pinnacle. First off, NB, I don't even know if I said that right. Yeah, or sorry, NBKC. It's located in Kansas City. I've never been to Kansas City before, but they gave me $25,000 at 0% interest for 18 months. Never went into the bank. So like, why wouldn't I want to get access to $50,000 at 0%? I mean, it's I don't have to pay interest on this until 2025. So it's just like a very good way to leverage it. And another huge thing is it's also no document. It's no doc.
Which is great. Now, in order to to get access to business credit cards, because obviously I love this because it doesn't go on your credit.
Right.
Do people need to have the business for a certain amount of time, or could I just go open a business today and then all of a sudden have capital? Or what are some of the requirements that they look at besides? I know that they don't look at docs, but any requirements that they look at? I know it will
Yeah.
vary, but
So business line of credit, that's yeah, business line of credit. You need to have over 2 years in your LLC. You can do it with the freshly formed LLC by all means. You can definitely get $100,000. Is it easier with an older LLC? Absolutely. But the thing is, like, you can't have restrictive names in the title. So you got to think about it. A house, the collateral, is the mortgage. A car note, the collateral is the car. With business credit, the collateral is you, so you are personally guaranteeing this. So everything, every little thing, sort of matters.
What did you say about restrictive names? What does that mean?
Sure. So if you go in there and you're Jose's Trucking LLC, denied. You go in there, Jose's Dispensary, denied. Jose's Real Estate Fund, denied. They don't like to lend on restrictive titles, on restrictive, like restrictive names, like things that are very capital intensive.
Got it. So capital intensive. I'm still trying to understand it. So is it because my name's on the LLC, or is it because the type of
The
business
type of
that
business, yeah.
the
There's
type of
certain
business?
businesses that they like. There's certain businesses they don't like. They like consulting. They like technology. They don't like, honestly, real estate. They don't like. They don't like trucking, where you could be, instead of trucking, you're logistics. Instead of real estate, if you're an agent, you're consulting. So there's different ways to play it.
Got it. Okay. I didn't even think about that. Okay. So
Yeah,
basically,
that's a big one, man. You can ruin your chances before you even start.
got
And
it.
that's why
Okay.
we exist, because there's really, like, there's so many data points that we guide people through to make sure they're doing the right thing when getting this funding.
And I love that because obviously, like, you can change it to logistics versus trucking or
Right.
technology and just different things. Any other industries that the banks like or would be? Um, I like how you phrase it. Instead of real estate, do this, or instead of this. What if you're a restaurant?
Yeah.
What about
um
restaurants? Do they like restaurants or?
restaurant restaurant, you could change that to like studio, or hospitality might raise some red flags, but I'm not really sure on that. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the thing is, like, you can only hurt your name with the name of your LLC. You can't gain any points. So when you name your LLC, people are like, oh, it has to match the business. It really doesn't. It's just how you get paid. So
Okay.
yeah, something vague.
Now, what about finding the banks? Now, I know that you said I've never been to this bank. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, I'm sure that maybe you received some sort of offer online or you Googled something on the internet. What would be if I wanted to find different banks that specialize in business uh, credit card loans or business loans? How would I find these?
Yeah. So we have done all the research. I can send you a list of. Let me see if I have it on my computer. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, it's a list of 30 banks that pull from, and that's another thing. Some banks pull from Experian, some banks pull from TransUnion, some banks pull from Equifax. So let's say you have a great Experian profile, but your TransUnion stinks. You want to stick to Experian banks, or you have a great Equifax and your Experian's not great. You want to stick to banks that pull from Equifax. So I can send you the list, and maybe you could like
Is there
share it
is
to your
there a
followers.
couple that you can name? Just a couple that
Oh
would
yeah,
be like
yeah,
Experian or
yeah, Chase Bank is solid. You have to have a banking relationship with them. Um, American Express, they're fantastic. They both pull from Experian. Key Bank, I like Key Bank. I don't know if they're on the West Coast. Um, yeah, there's a whole bunch, man.
got it. So basically, there's a list that you guys can
Truist,
get, and then
Truist is solid. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Truist. Got it. Okay, so they can get a list, and even with the list, there's even coaching on which bank, which Experian or TransUnion, where they pull from, which I think would be helpful to them.
Right.
Are there any techniques as to like pulling from different credit bureaus? Like, so for example, like, okay, you're pulling from Experian first, and then you're pulling from TransUnion, and then you're pulling all within a week so that maybe they don't find out about each other
Yeah,
or anything like
it's
that.
totally possible. You could go Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, and if you want to get really crazy, you can actually remove the inquiries associated with those those monies, because it's not attached to a personal debt because it's a business line.
You know the reason I asked that, I was watching this YouTube video and this guy was running a Turo business, and what the
Yeah,
guy would do is he would find out which car dealerships pulled credit from different bureaus, and he'd go
yeah,
buy like 3 or 4 cars in a day,
yeah.
and they wouldn't know. I don't know
Yeah,
if it's legal or not, but when I
it's
heard about
legal.
that, I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, and that's another thing with the credit repair side is that consumers, just like California, just like New York with the renters, they have so many rights. With credit, the consumer has so many rights. So if you're not leveraging like the consumer code on that, like for example, any late payment you have from May of 2019 until current can be removed off your report with the COVID CARES Act.
From when May of 19 to
May of
today.
2019 until current.
So
And
any
is it
late
going to be
payment can be
easy?
removed, basically.
Yeah, it's actually legal to be on your report. It's the same thing that like protected people that were behind on their mortgage forbearance, stuff like that. It's the same thing that protects credit.
I love it. What's the difference between a business credit card and a business line of credit?
Business credit card is money on a card, and a business line of credit, they'll send you, hypothetically
Checks.
cash in your bank account.
And then with the credit cards, are there certain ones that give you the same access to like cash or capital, or
You
are they
can you
used
can
differently?
liquidate the cards. There's methods we teach on how to liquidate the cards if you need the cash.
You mind me asking, like, what sort of methods that would entail?
It really, like the short story is if you want to go to, there's people that do this, they liquidate cars. Like that is their company. They're card liquidators. They have very seasoned Stripe accounts where they know how to get the money off the card. You Stripe it, they send it back to you, stuff like that. So we typically just go with professional vendors and we have a list of them that can liquidate the cards for you.
I didn't even know that was a strategy. But and
Yeah.
obviously there's a
Because
fee
if you
associated with
advance the
that, I would
money,
imagine.
yeah, if you advance the money off the card, they charge you like 25%. Whereas, you could do, it's called manufactured spending.
I love it. That's actually good. Okay. What about you talked about getting used car loans or like refinancing car loans or
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So, a lot of car companies, or some car companies, not a lot of them, they don't actually check if you are actually transacting on the car. So you get a used car loan for, let's say, $40,000 cash in your account at a 7% interest rate. It's the same as the mortgage with no collateral, and then you don't actually transact on a car.
Got it. So basically you can get a car loan in advance, but then you don't buy the car. But you talked about like having a car under your personal name versus having
Right.
under the business name. And
Yeah.
then like let's say you have a car paid off, you could actually also refinance the car and get the money out and then that won't count against you basically.
Yeah, you could refinance the car. That's what we help a lot of people do. Is they have a car on the personal side that's ruining their debt to income. We for refinance it on the business side. They get a better interest rate very commonly, and then that shows off as a paid loan on their personal side, and then it goes to their business side, and it doesn't affect their personal credit.
Got it. And in order to do that, they either have to open up some sort of corporation or an LLC or already
Yeah.
have one that they can do it with.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
excellent. Okay. Aside from like business credit cards, business lines of credit, like refinancing cars and putting them under company names,
Yeah.
which I love, anything else involved in, let's say, if I wanted to get access to 100K in 30 days?
So from a real estate people, you got to get the inquiries off. You can't go in somewhere with 10 inquiries. Like Chase is a rule, the 24/5 rule. If you go in there, you have more than 5 inquiries, auto denial. So you got to wipe the inquiries. We do that service. We'll get all the inquiries off your report. I think in 3 weeks we get them all off. You can't go in there with derogatories. Maybe if you have a late payment like 2 years old, you can still get some money, but it's better just to get a clean slate. You're going to want to raise your credit limits. You're going to want to call your bureaus. Hey, I need to raise my credit limit because I need to do some renovation. I really would like to use your card because your business line of credit and your business credit card is based on what your personal credit card is. So you want to have that figured out, and you can only make one first impression in life. So you want to make sure that you come correct and your business profile is optimized before you're talking to a lender or a bank. And typically, if it's less than $100,000, it's a no doc loan.
Got it. Now, it's funny because my dad would tell me as a kid to increase my credit limits, and I did
Yeah,
when I was younger. And I always had higher credit limits than a lot of my friends because every like 6 months I would call, but I never knew what I was doing when I was calling. It was always kind of like a hit and miss. If
your
somebody
dad was
wants
smart.
to,
Your dad's a smart guy.
it's funny because he would take me out to lunch and he would tell me these things that stuck with me. And then I attribute a lot of what I've done to him, because from a young boy, he was kind of like mentoring me, but
Yeah.
I never knew what I was doing when I was requesting these credit limit increases. Like, how are there any tactics or uh, anything that somebody should be aware of when requesting these limit increases to increase the chances of them being able to get it?
Yeah, so I would say, so first off, just an example. So let's say we had a client last week. He has he had $1,000 credit limit on his card. He's like, yo, I buy lunch, I'm at 10%. I buy a nice fancy lunch with my girl, I'm at a 10% utilization. You really want to be below 10% to get business line, business credit cards. But let's say you have a $10,000 limit and you spend $100. That's 1% utilization. So again, yeah, you want to call in and come up with a specific story. Hey, I want to do a home renovation. Hey, I want to spend this card a little bit more, but I can't because my credit line is too small. And if you've always made payments on time, obviously they're also, another strategy is pay your utilization down. They're not going to give you an increase if your utilization is already tapped out. So you got to really clean that up before you go in and make that phone call.
And what would be like utilization to keep it under like a 10% if you're going to make that phone call?
If possible, below 10%, that'd be great. Yeah, maybe if you have to, below 20, really below 25. And again, like just get it below there, and then you can spend money on the business side. That does not negatively affect you.
What's a red flag? What's not to say when you're requesting a credit line increase? Like, hey, I just
Um,
lost my job.
yeah,
Probably
exactly. Nothing.
don't
Yeah,
say that.
exactly. Anything you think. Yeah, I just lost my job. I don't have a lot of money right now. Like anything like that. That is not. They're not going to be like, oh, great. Yeah, that just makes you risky.
Don't say probably I'm going on a vacation, or is it okay?
Right.
No,
Yeah. Nah, nah, nah.
don't say that. That's funny.
Nah.
Okay, cool. You said something earlier, and we're going to start getting a little bit more into the credit. The point from the conversation earlier is if you need access to capital, there's ways to do it, and Evan can actually help you with that as well too. But let's get a
Yeah.
little bit into the like fixing credit, about strengthening your profile. What's you said 35, 30, 10, 10? What does that mean? Or something
Yeah,
like that.
I got it written on my board right now. So 35% is the payments, 30% is the utilization. Um, sorry, payments. I know I shouldn't be looking at this board. So 35 is your payments. So that means make your payments on time. No derogatories, no late payments, no 30, 60, 90, no collections, or no derogatories, no bankruptcy, anything like that. 30 is your utilization. So you really want to be below 20 if you can, below 10. 15% is the age of your credit. And that could be fixed by, for example, you could add your dad as an authorized user. That increases your age. Your credit mix. That's the sort of the diversity of your report. If you just have two credit cards, no, you want to have a mortgage, you want to have an authorized user, you want to have a car, you want to have you want to record your rent on your credit, which nobody does. It's $20 a year. I've lived at my spot for 7 years, and it's recorded 3 times over on my credit because there's 3 different companies that report on my credit profile. So that increases my credit mix, and then your inquiries are another 10%. So if you have more than 3 inquiries, you're deemed high risk to lenders. Now, the fact that always comes back to me is for every 10 points your credit score is lower, that's an extra $30,000 in interest you're paying over the course of your loan.
You know what's really interesting is that like I
Yeah,
get people coming to me saying that they want to buy real estate, but they're like, but my credit is not good. Not realizing
yeah,
that credit's one of those things that you can actually fix if you understand it. Now, you said something that I don't know if people caught on to it, but you said something about adding your father as an authorized user to increase the age. What does that
hmm
mean? Because I've heard of it and I've had
yeah,
people that have done that, but I don't think that it registered for most people because you said it so casually.
yeah. No problem. Yeah, so you accept the reality in which you're presented. So I'll talk a little slower. So I'm a young guy, right? I had good credit, never missed anything after I cleaned up my credit, but I still run into some roadblocks because the age of my credit is like 4 years, so I'm still like a young lender. So I needed to add some age. So my dad, who's 65, and it feels so weird even saying this, hey, Dad, can I use your credit card? But I was like, Dad, add me to your card. I don't need it. I don't want the credit card. I just want your age because he's 65. He has an LL Bean card he's had for 17 years. That gets added to my report. Again, I don't want the credit card. I don't want access to it. I just need your age. It brought my age from 4 years to 7 years, which was a big difference in approvals.
Hmm.
So an authorized user is simply someone who gives you access to their card that reflects in your profile. Now, you don't want to get an authorized user who's missed payments or who's frequently late or some negative item. You want to get someone who has a good credit line, not miss any payments. And if you're thinking, I don't have a family member, you can actually buy them as well.
Now, what's the when you say buy them, what does that mean?
You can buy authorized trade lines online to be added onto your
Really?
report. Yeah.
Got it. And then
So
you would
let's say
have
you have a
people that.
you're buying a house and you need a better rate because you have young credit. You can buy an authorized user to be on your account for 3 months, get a better rate, get a better age, and then you can just take off the authorized user after you buy the house.
What does that process look like to find somebody like that? Is it just as simple
I
as a
think,
Google term? Is it
yeah,
something that you guys have the list, or how does that work?
yeah. I mean, we have you put authorized users on our own accounts. There's this list. I think it's called like Genie's authorized users, something like that. Like some woman runs it who has access to all these old credit cards. There's also authorizedtradeline.net. Yeah, there's a bunch of different sites where you can get access to these credit cards.
I love it. What about rent? What's that process like to get your rents on your actual credit card? Because I imagine that there's a lot of people. And is that something that's new, or is that something that's always existed?
It's a little newer and it's a little nuanced. So there's Boom Pay, which will only report up to 2 years. So I lived in my apartment for 7, but they only report 2 years. But still, 2 years of payment history is great. There's rent reporters, which I really like. They report as long as you've lived there. Like they reported all 7 years for my rent. There's Boom Pay, rent reporters. I know there's one more. Rental. I don't know. There's one like maybe Rental Karma, that could be it, that
Mhm.
that reports in your credit. So if you're making payments, you can have that recorded as much as 3 times in your credit, which adds more accounts, adds more diversity, adds more positive payment history.
Got it. What about like you already mentioned that if somebody has a late payment after May 2019 that they can get it removed.
Yeah,
Any other tips for increasing or bettering your credit score?
get the utilization down if you can. Add some authorized users, get the inquiries off. Any derogatories, you can try and challenge them. It's almost a scenario where we have it down so pat that it's like change. You can change the oil on your car, or you can pay us to do it. Um, so we guarantee results, and we can usually get everything off your credit, no matter how bad it is, in about 6 months
Love it.
or less.
Got it. Cool. Now, the second step that you talked about was strengthening your profile. What does that mean?
So that again, that means adding trade lines, adding diversity to your profile, adding increasing your credit line, adding diversity, making sure all the information on your credit is correct. You don't want any old addresses there. You want your actual address. Making sure your LLC is structured correctly and you've paid all your dues. Like there's a lot of things you can do wrong. We had a guy get denied the other day because he hadn't filed his $9 annual payment for his LLC, and it was technically not compliant.
Got it. So basically, you guys can give them all the tips as to how to do
Yeah,
that. I love it.
yeah.
Cool, man. I think that this has been extremely helpful for viewers. Anything else that you think would be helpful if somebody's looking to raise capital in 30 days or less? Anything else?
No, you can reach out to me at my Instagram handle at Bowery BOI, like Soldier Boy. But yeah, no, it's absolutely vital, and I think it very frequently gets overlooked. And you really need credit. It's like if you don't have good credit, you're playing your life in financial hard mode. And I did that for a very long time. Like sometimes like you got money that's coming in 2-3 weeks. Let's say you're a realtor, you got a big sale coming. Don't max out your personal card. Spend some money on your business card because it won't affect your personal card.
Got it. I love it. Cool. Well, Evan, I just want to say thank you so much for obviously coming on the show. Thank you for taking
Yeah,
the time to kind of explain these things. For our viewers out there, obviously, if you need help with improving your credit, Evan would be a good person to talk to. If you need help with establishing business lines of credit or business credit cards or moving some things around, I'm sure that Evan is available for questions. So I want to say thank you once again, Evan. For our viewers, if you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you feel that this episode would be helpful to friends, family, neighbors, make sure to hit that share button. Once again, this was an episode of the Morales Group Show. We had Evan Rogan, how to get money to buy real estate, also how to use business credit cards to buy real estate. Appreciate you guys' time and make it a great day.